Welcome back to another class of Python for app development. In this class, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about how you can create a counter. So a counter in case, let's say you have a button inside of your console or your app. Now, if you want to count up how many times you've clicked on that button, I'm going to show you inside of that console and how you can make it very easily. And it's also going to be very simple, even if you don't have any idea about layouts. So this is kind of like, an extra class, which is going to basically help you to create your own type of app. So without any further ado, let's move on to our class and make sure not to skip any part of this one. As you can see on my screen, I have opened PyCharm. And you can also see that now I am on my main.py file. So why am I on my main.py file? It's because I'm going to be customizing or modifying everything inside of this Python file instead of working with the Kiwi file. Well, in the second case, I'm going to also show you a bit or just a bit about the KV file too, what you're going to customize. But the rest of the stuffs which I'm going to do, or the rest of the commands and lines which I'm going to create, are going to be inside of my main widget example. And it's also interlaced and also connected to my previous class. So you don't have to worry about it, because if you already have a good outcome from the previous class, it's going to be very simple and very easy for you to move along with this class. Okay. So first thing, what we have to do is make sure that you are on the main.py file, and make sure to customize everything on the widget example instead of the other ones. And we are going to be customizing this right over here. Okay. So first off, after the grid layout, I'm going to create myself another, let's say, command, which is going to say count. So I'm going to start off my counter. So put in count and equal, because we are on the Python file, not the KV file. So I'm going to start off with 0, but you can also start off with 1 or 2, whichever one you prefer. So I'm going to put in 1 just in case, and you can also try in 2 if you want to. Okay. So right after that, I'm going to create myself up a string property, which is already over here, and it is telling me nothing is clicked. But you're going to be customizing it just a bit more. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do is that we have this my text. Okay. So in my text, I'm going to create a string property, which is already over here. And instead of nothing is clicked, what I'm going to present is that it's going to show me 1 as the value. So I'm going to put in this. I'm going to put in 0 just in case. Okay. So right after that, I'm going to create a bit of space so that it just looks a bit more organized. And make sure that you are using the definition function to actually visualize everything inside of your app. So on button click, make sure that the self or the self function is turned on. And you also should have the same things like print, button is clicked, or whatever you want. And then the next thing what I want to do is self my text, which is your text, which is being visible or presented inside of the button. So here inside of the self my text, I don't want a specific alphabetical value. Instead, I want to create a self count, because I want how many times it is clicked. So if I just put in a self command, it will basically won't work. So I'm going to put in self dot count. And another thing, what you basically have to do is that you have to make sure that it is being looped inside of this whole command or this whole chain. So if I put in self, I'm going to put in self dot count, and inside of my count, I'm going to put in a plus and then equal, and I'm going to just paste or put in 1. Now, if I play it out, you might see an error. Okay, but this is how it should look like. You can see only example or only strings are going to work. So if I click on this, it will just basically turn off, and this is how it should show me. Because when you are using the self command, you should have that variable as a string. So when you want to create a string, you basically just take this value over here and type in str, open up the parentheses and close the parentheses right over here. And now you can play it up. Now, if you play it up, you can just click on this button and you can see this much time this button has been clicked. Okay, so now you can see how easy it is to work with. Now, if I just put in 2 and if I play it out, and you can see this is going to count from 2. So you can see that we don't need that specific space, but I'm going to put in, let's say, string properties to say 3. If I play it out, you might see this is going to start from 3 and it's going to count from that specific number again and again. So you can see how many times it is clicked. It's just going to count with one value. If I put in 2 over here and play out the whole thing, it will just basically count with 2 values. Okay, so it's just going to be an even number most of the time. So it's going to skip out the odd number and it's just going to move out and visualize number 2. If we put in 3, it's going to be counting, or it's going to show me the multiples of 3. It's just going to plus or add up 3. So it started from 3, and then it's 2 over here, 2, 5, and then 8, and then 11, but we don't want to, right? So I'm going to put in, let's say 0. I'm going to hit on like play 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and it's going to like over here on 30, and it's just going to add up 3 over and over again. Okay, now in case if we want, maybe like I want to add 8, and now it's going to be the multiples of 8 over and over again, 8, 16, 24, and obviously we don't want 3 to be visible on our console and on our label, okay, because that is kind of confusing. So I'm going to put in 0, and if I play it out, it's going to be 0, 8, 16, 24, 32, 48, and then so on and over again up till the loop ends. Now, one thing what I would like to change is that I want it to be counted inside of the Kiwi file too. So if I want to customize, or if I want to take it inside of the Kiwi file, what I basically have to do is just take one value inside of the Kiwi file instead of keeping it on over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to be taking out that count function inside my Kiwi. So go off to the Kiwi file. So I'm just going to do is going to be, you have this text over here, and I'm going to say it's going to count up that value. So I'm going to put in, let's say, add, or I'm going to put in sum. Okay, so if I play it up, it's going to show me sum. So there we go. We have 8, 16, 24. And you can also put in, let's say, multiples of 8. Now, if I press on this or play it up, multiples of 8, now it's going to show me the multiples of 8. Okay, so there we go. This is how you'll be able to create yourself up a counter in Python file. And that is how simple it is to work up with Python, and how you can create yourself up a counter, and you can also customize it just the way you want to inside of your main.py file. But one thing you should keep in mind is that whenever you are using the self my text, it's also going to be interlooped with the Kiwi file. So make sure not to change anything over here, because in case even if I remove this my text over here and play it out, it's not going to give me out any value or give me any good outcome. Okay, so make sure to keep these values just the same, and also make sure that you watch the previous class like properly. But if you have any confusion of this class and also the previous class, feel free to ask me anytime. I'm always there to help you out. And also try practicing this one over here. And another most important thing is that make sure that you are using this module over here and you have imported as the string property. Okay, so thank you for watching this video again. And without any further ado, let's move on to our next class, and make sure not to skip any part of these classes, because we are getting into more diverse and a bit more advanced classes time to time, class to class.